So my name is Helen and I work for Glaucoma UK. I cover the region of Northern Ireland. I'm the Training and Engagement Officer. As I said, we've got 3 panelists, all with different experience of glaucoma. We have Karen, who is a biology teacher. We have Kate, who is a Director of Sales Enablement. And we have Rosanna, who's an actress. So they all themselves have glaucoma and are going to talk very much about their experience of using eye drops. So I'm so glad you all arrived. If you heard our conversations earlier on, you're all taking shelter from Storm Babette. I'm going to have 2 short polls launched during the webinar. These are here to help us see the difference the sessions are having. So I'm going to launch the first one now, and this will stay open for about a minute or 2. Okay, so I'll just launch it. It's just 1 question. So if you could just answer the question, that'd be brilliant. And then we launch it at the end. Just a few more seconds and then I'll end it. Okay, 1 more. Okay, I'm going to end that now. Okay, thank you for your response. As I say, we will do it again at the end. So we're going to launch a poll, as I said. So after the panel have finished speaking, so we're going to have a 40-minute discussion with the panel, them sharing their experiences about using eye drops. And then this is over to you, the public. You can ask any questions through the Q&A and also then post them via Facebook. So Robin, my colleague, will kind of stream them onto our questions here. Done our first poll. Before we chat to our panel series questions, I'm going to share the next slide that explains what drops actually do. This is a very useful slide. And it helps you think about, well, what are eye drops? So there are many types of eye drops. So on this flow chart, it's showing you 4 different columns. And in the first column is showing eye drops. And then the second, then there's 3 other columns. So the 4 columns are breaking down the different aspects of eye drops. The second column shows that drops either slow the production of aqueous fluid. So examples of drug classifications, drop classifications on the 3rd column are beta blockers, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, or for drops that increase outflow. The examples of eye drops classifications on the 3rd column are, now these are big words for me, so cholinergic agonists and prostaglandins. So a lot of big words there. There are some drops that do a combination of both. So there's a line going from these, and they are showing that they are called alpha agonists. Okay, and in the last column has a range of names of drops that are prescribed. Again, these aren't all the drops that be prescribed, there's just a selection of them. It's important to note prescriptions will vary from person to person, depending on the specific issue causing the glaucoma. So that's a very useful slide to get you thinking about eye drops. Again, our 3 panelists are going to talk about their experience of using eye drops, and they're going to talk about the type of glaucoma they have and the eye drops that they use. So let's get kicked off. So our first question, so we're very welcome. The first question I'm going to ask is, and again, I'm going to start with Karen. What type of glaucoma do you have, Karen? And how long have you had glaucoma? And lastly, what drops do you use? Okay.
I have acute angle glaucoma. I've had it for about 3 years, and in my right eye and my left eye for the last year, and I use monoprost every evening, and that's the only eye drops that I use.
Okay, so just okay, thank you. And then on to Kate. So Kate, same question. What type of glaucoma do you have? How long have you had glaucoma, and what drops do you use?
I have normal tension, primary open angle glaucoma. I've had it for probably 12 years diagnosed, potentially a lot longer than that, undiagnosed. I was on latanoprost for many years, and then got forgotten like a lot of people in lockdown, and my glaucoma became out of control, or uncontrolled as the NHS called it. So I'm now on a combination of Ganfort, which I take once a day, and Simbrinza, which is brinzolamide and brimonidine combined, that I use twice a day.
It's a very complex regime, Kate, that you have to take. Yeah, yeah. And then lastly, Rosanna, again, what type of glaucoma, how long have you had glaucoma, and what drops do you use?
So I also have normal tension primary open angle glaucoma. Similarly, it was my optician that spotted it when I did a visual fields test. So I don't know, I just checked, it was exactly 7 years ago that I was diagnosed, but I could have had it for longer. And I'm on brinzolamide twice a day and travoprost once a day.
Okay, thank you. So again, the public may be familiar with some of these terms of drops, but today we're going to help you understand, you know, the side effects, how their experience in using them. Okay, so I'm just going to go keep with you, Rosanna, if that's okay. Tell us about your experience when you first started using eye drops. What was it like?
Terrible. And I'm terrible still about them. So in fact, I was looking back at my emails to see when I got diagnosed, and I wrote very complaining emails to my family saying, I'm going to have to take these for the rest of my life. And I think that was one of the things that I hated most about it, was there was just going to be no end to it. And as I think, as we all know, because you can't really tell the glaucoma, or you certainly can't tell if it's getting worse, it's hard to understand why you need to take them. And I haven't always been brilliant at taking them. My left is mostly in my left eye, and then that got quite stable, but actually something's starting my right eye now, which was a very timely reminder to be more accurate and better at taking them at the right time. I used to find it difficult to put them in, difficult to remember to take them, and I do get quite dry eyes sometimes afterwards as well. And occasionally I'll be out when I should be putting them in, I haven't got them with me. And once I went on holiday, fortunately just overnight without them, and sometimes I run out. So I'm a bit disorganized. I'm not the best patient, but I suspect I'm not the only person who's a bit like that.
Yeah. And the challenges Rosanna's talked about, we're going to talk about how we can overcome them with their experiences. Thank you, Rosanna. I'm going to go back then to Kate. So Kate, again, tell us about your experience when you first started using eye drops.
I think probably a bit similar to Rosanna. You know, you see an ophthalmologist who says you need to put these in daily. I think at the time, and I, full transparency, my father was an ophthalmologist, and I often rue the fact that he didn't ever talk about this, because it runs, there is a higher incidence in African and Afro-Caribbean communities, much higher incidence. It tends to happen earlier and it's more aggressive. Somehow he forgot to mention that. So I didn't necessarily take the drop taking all that seriously. That's not to say I didn't do it daily, but I was not religious about the time. And it's only quite belatedly, I guess, once being diagnosed as uncontrolled, having been controlled, despite my not paying, massive attention to the timings of my drops, I've been a lot more religious since. And I mean, literally my life is governed by my alarm going off to put my drops in. And I very rarely don't take it when I need to, because the trade-off is you lose your sight.
You say you've adapted yourself to make them fit your life in that way, Kate. Yeah.
Well, I mean, a bit like Rosanna, I don't particularly like it. I mean, I had my alarm for my drops go off in the middle of the theatre, in all sorts of inconvenient places. But as I say, what's the alternative? And if the trade-off is this way, you minimize the risk of losing your sight. I mean, I know there's no guarantees, but if it's within my control to do that, then I would be really foolish not to.
Thank you, Kate. And then lastly, then Karen, what is your experience? Sorry, when you first started using eye drops.
Again, that sort of feeling I've got to do this every day the rest of my life was quite intimidating. And for me, I only have to put them in once a day, which is lucky compared to the other two panelists. But again, having that alarm that goes off every night just before I go to bed, I'm quite lucky in that I think I have, because of my job, I think I have a very fixed lifestyle during the week. So it makes it kind of easier to sort of fit that around my lifestyle. But for me, it was mainly just that worry about, is the drop going in, is running down my face, what am I going to do, and so on. And I think that's been that was some of the trickiest bits for me, just kind of getting my confidence that it was actually going into my eye.
Okay, thank you.
Really.
Thank you, Karen. The next one, then I'll go back to Rosanna, because we seem to just keep the flow this way. So where did you get the most useful advice on eye drops, Rosanna?
I would say online, actually. I didn't get a huge amount of help in clinic. Occasionally someone would say, oh, you need to do it this way, and show me sort of fairly quickly. But overall, I just needed more time to kind of get to grips with what was happening, what I was being told. And obviously you have to be really careful online that you're looking at kind of reputable places. But I basically found a video from an optician in America just saying, this is how to do it. And also being quite reassuring about the fact that you don't worry that you won't have got enough dose, because the dose is actually quite small and then the rest of it runs out. So you will have got enough. If it's gone in your eye, you will have got enough of a dose. And a friend of mine was kind of kept finding little bits of information for me. And so one of his suggestions was to keep them in the fridge, because then when you put them in your eye, because they're cold, you can feel that they've gone into your eye. So I probably mostly online, to be honest.
Can I ask whereabouts online? Is it just searching on?
Just searching on YouTube, and there's always a YouTube video on something.
That's very useful to know.
For some reason, I didn't find Glaucoma UK, which is crazy because I used to work for a charity, and somehow I didn't think to look for it. So that would have been helpful.
But I know from conversations we've had, Health Unlocked, you find very, very useful.
Right, yeah, now I've found it. Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you, Rosanna. Kate, yourself then. So where did you get the most useful advice on eye drops?
Same. I don't remember. I mean, it was quite a long time ago when I was diagnosed. I don't remember being given specific guidance around how to take it. There was an emphasis on you need to do it daily. I don't even remember being told, and you need to take it at the same time. Now, maybe I was and I just didn't register. But yeah, there was minimal information, and has been actually all the way along. And it was only when I went from, well, it's under control to not under control, that I thought, okay, I better go find out some more stuff here. And I stumbled upon Health Unlocked, and through that found Glaucoma UK. And yeah, it's, I would say, an invaluable source of supporting and supportive information that I mean, I get it, the NHS is under so much pressure, your appointments are like a nanosecond long. It feels like often, when you do go to the hospital, you've had very little time to ask any questions. And I've often come out of the hospital and gone, oh, I wish I'd asked X or Y or Z. And even then, when you try and ask that question belatedly, it's almost impossible to get an answer out of the person that you saw. Whereas, you can post, something on one of the forums on Health Unlocked, and somebody who's also got glaucoma, or somebody from Glaucoma UK will reply, and that's been really reassuring.
Fantastic to get that feedback. Thank you, Kate. And then lastly, Karen, where have you found information in relation to eye drops?
Almost exactly the same story. I was told at the hospital, I was given a sheet with some photographs on that explained how to do it. So there was a sheet that said, about putting your fingers in the corner of your eye for 2 minutes. So I did get that. But for me, Health Unlocked, just the reassurance about not worrying about the dripping of the liquid going down, was just so reassuring, because I got myself quite worked up about whether it was going in or not. So I found Health Unlocked, Glaucoma UK really, really helpful.
Brilliant. As you say, at least, for people who are having difficulties, there are things they can turn to, which is good to hear. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Karen, can I keep with you then instead of go to somebody else?
Yeah.
So did you have any side effects from taking the eye drops? And is there anything you would do to protect your eye health going forward?
No, I've had no side effects at all. I do use the one monopost for dry eyes, because I've got incredibly dry eyes, but I haven't had any issues at all.
Thank you. Kate, back to yourself then. So any side effects you've had from taking the eye drops, and anything you do then to protect your eye health going forward?
Yeah, so I think that, as I understand it, normal tension glaucoma is potentially harder to control. And, what that means is that I'm on, I think, a bit like Rosanna, kind of the heavy duty stuff. The Simbrinza, if you look at the list of side effects, it's pretty lengthy. And one of the things, in fact, I had not been sleeping well, and it was only when I went back to the list of side effects that I saw insomnia is one of them. I mean, there's a long list of things, and you know, I guess ideally you wouldn't take it forever, but what's the alternative? And at the moment, my consultant, and I have resorted to going to see a private ophthalmologist. His view is your glaucoma is stable at the moment, therefore, you know, he is not recommending surgery. If at some point the drops stop working, then, you know, then we're down to well, not many other options, frankly. So while I'm able to tolerate it, and, you know, in his view, the insomnia is counts as tolerable, I just have to, you know, put up with waking up in the middle of the night.
Sadly, yeah. And anything you do then to protect your eye health? What, any steps or any measures?
Well, I did not realize that when your eyes stream, when you go outside, it actually means that your eyes are dry. And it was only when I mentioned it in passing to my consultant that he went, oh yeah, no, that's dry eye, so you need drops for that as well. I have to say, I'm not as religious about those as I am about the, you know, the kind of medicine ones. If I put them in the evening, I'll do well. I probably should do it more often, but it's just one more thing to think about, frankly.
Yeah. And then lastly, then Rosanna, so any side effects you've had from taking the eye drops, and then anything you do to protect your eye health?
So yes, I sort of slowly realized that my eyes were getting dry. I found them very uncomfortable, and sometimes it's quite hard to kind of keep my eyes open, and it finally dawned on me that that's what it was. And again, online, I came across an idea of using like no tears shampoo to wash, so you can wash your eyelashes and eyelid, because brinzolamide is quite gunky, so I always end up with kind of dots of white in the corner of my eyes. It's quite good for clearing that off and just kind of soothing your eyes. And also I use one of those heated pads that you can heat up in a microwave. And I can see Kate already had all this already.
No, I haven't used one actually, but I know Karen mentioned it.
Sorry,
yeah,
I meant to say,
I'm minded to get one.
Yes, I don't always remember to use it, but it is actually really soothing. And then my optician was very keen on me wearing sunglasses or reactor light glasses when I go out, and I do get a lot of glare out, so I find sometimes I just can't see anything, and the sunlight doesn't seem that bright. And in fact, I was reading up just the other day suggesting you have a peaked hat or something like that, which I think I might start doing as well. Partly because I just can't see otherwise.
Yeah, just I mean, I would say the other thing is driving at night I find increasingly challenging because of the glare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
I'm starting to struggle with the glare as well. And yes, the heated iPads are amazing, and it's quite a nice relaxing thing to do as well. So I do recommend them. You just
Brilliant.
might go in the microwave. And
there's one actually on was recommended on Health Unlocked that I got, which seems to work very well. I'm sure there are others as well, but it seems a nice one.
Good to know.
Okay, Jules, if you hold that thought, we're going to come to Q&A probably about 20 to 8. Okay, Jules? So I just want to ask in the next one, and I'll go back, we were with Rosanna, I'll stay on Rosanna. So were there any specific barriers or issues you experienced in accessing or using your eye drops? And then how did you overcome them?
Well, I think we talked about some of them already. One of them is that, again, with the brinzolamide, it's in a very stiff bottle, and the same friend discovered somewhere that you were supposed to actually press, I should have brought one with me, but when you turn the bottle upside down, you're supposed to press the base of the bottle and that releases a drop, whereas I was squeezing the sides and really struggling to control it. So it's a very simple thing. And the other thing is, but this all comes back to my lack of organization, is that I used to run out or nearly run out, and there were some very kind of hairy moments and phone calls going between doctors and pharmacies to get eye drops. So a very simple solution finally dawned on me was to order my next bottle as soon as I got a bottle, because until you open them they last for about a year. So it means I've already got one in reserve. And in fact, we were just talking earlier on about diarising when you've opened a bottle, and therefore when you should be opening the next bottle. You could just put in your diary 28 days later that you should be using a new bottle.
Brilliant, brilliant, Rosanna. Back to Kate then. So the question then was, is there any barriers or issues you experienced in accessing or using eye drops, and how did you overcome them?
There was about 6 months ago a shortage, which was a bit hairy for a while. Luckily, I've got a very understanding pharmacist who managed to somehow purloin literally one bottle, even though my prescription was for 3 months supply, and I mean that's been resolved now. So that was just I hope it's a short-term hiccup. Like Rosanna, I'm just constantly just checking how many bottles are in the cupboard, and if I get below about 2 or 3, I put in a repeat order just in case. I'd rather have a buffer than run out. And then the other thing that I use, I have an app on my phone. Now I can't remember what it's called. Just bear with me one sec. It's called My Therapy. And you can set the schedule for the, I mean, and it literally, the alarm goes off no matter what, even if your phone's on silent, which is, as I said, it's sometimes not great, but at least it means you don't forget. But the other thing that you can do is you can enter your dosage. So it will remind you when you need to change bottles, which otherwise I would forget for sure.
And that's a free app then, is it?
Yeah.
Kate, free. That's brilliant. So yeah, so My Therapy, brilliant. Thank you. And then Karen, yourself then, any barriers or issues you experience in accessing or using eye drops, and how did you overcome them?
I had a similar problem in that the monopost was just unavailable where I live, and I had nearly run out, and I was told that the pharmacist couldn't give me a different type without the doctor, and you know how hard I think it is to speak to a GP. So I had 3 phone calls, kept asking the GP if they would do it, and eventually I just walked in there and said I really need these, and luckily got it sorted that day. But yeah, it is quite, now I get 3 boxes at a time. That's 3 months worth, and as soon as I've only got 1 box left, I do the same as the other panelists. I just order
Brilliant.
well in advance all the time.
Yeah.
So I never run out again.
Yeah.
The other thing, actually, I mean, I know it's not related directly to the drops, but for anybody on the call that hasn't got a prescription prepayment certificate, I was in Boots, this is a while ago, and the pharmacist said the amount that you're getting each month of prescriptions, you should have a prepayment certificate. I didn't even know what one was. And I think it's £112 a year. I think, don't quote me on that.
Is it a one-off fee or a monthly fee?
It's a one-off fee, and then all your prescriptions are covered. And if you go onto the NHS website, it will tell you if you have more than X number of prescriptions per annum, it's worth getting this prepayment certificate. And I mean, for me, it definitely is. And it just means that, you know, and you upload it once, and then when you go to the pharmacy, you can say, I'm in the system. And then on the back of the prescription, you just sign, I've got a PPC.
That's a brilliant tip, because especially when money is tight, it's good
Yeah.
to have that.
Well, it could cost a fortune.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you. Can I go back to Karen then? So we're going to move on to the next question. Again, we kind of probably touched upon this question. Are there any tips or techniques you have found useful in administering drops?
Nothing I think that we haven't mentioned already. Having the alarm, you know, putting my fingers in the corner of my eye after I've applied them, trying my best to wait for 2 minutes to make sure it goes in. I don't think there's anything else that I found that is different to anything we've already said.
Okay. Thank you, Karen. And then back to Kate again. Any tips or techniques you have used that found useful?
No, I mean, I have the timer on my phone. So when I put the first drop in, I press start, and then quickly put the other one in and run down 2 minutes. I still get drops running down the back of my throat, and I don't know if that means I've just got super slow processing. you know, my consultant said, well, try 3. And I went, I haven't got all day. I mean, I've got 2 sets of drops to do. And and I was told to leave 20 minutes between drop 1 and drop 2. And so, yeah, that part doesn't happen. I mean, I reckon by 2 minutes, enough of it's in my eye.
Thank you. And then lastly, Rosanna, any techniques or tips you've used?
No, actually, sort of, I just wrote a note to myself so I don't forget to mention it, that picking up something that Kate said earlier about, I'm not sure they said to me how crucial the time was. And I think for a long time I thought, as long as I take them, the time isn't too crucial. And this may be particularly for normal pressure glaucoma, but they were saying it's not so much the pressure as the variation in pressure.
Yeah.
So if you don't get the timings, then you're going to get much more variation, and that's actually what's doing the damage. And I think things like that, if you understand why the timing is so crucial, you're much more likely to do it.
Yeah. And one thing just on that my consultant said, because I said I am literally governed, my life is governed by a clock right now. He said you've got a couple of hours of buffer. So I think the life of, I don't know if it's both of the drops, but definitely the Simbrinza is about 14 hours rather than 12.
Oh, okay.
He said, don't kind of beat yourself up if you're not able to do it spot on the dot. I mean, for me, it's 8 o'clock, so it's about to go off. You know, if you don't do it spot on the dot, that's not a catastrophe. But he said, do not forget.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clear.
Yeah. So none of you have had to use any dispensing aids at all to assist with administering the drops. So just for the public to know, we have a pilot scheme that we're running. For anybody who has any problems with actually administering the drops, you can access 2 free aids by contacting our helpline. Now, these 3 ladies are very lucky they haven't had to resort to that. But for anybody else who may need help with that, it is available. So next question, while Kate's on my screen, I'll keep with Kate. Any particular help or advice you can give to help in making eye drops work with your lifestyle? You know, that's with your job, your hobbies, your socializing, anything you can. You're about to go tomorrow.
Well, I am. They'll be in my hand luggage. I think if you're crossing time zones, I mean, I'm only going to Europe, so it's an hour and it's easy. But I have read if you're going to be going across many hours, you need to get onto as close to your current time zone as you can, which, you know, does take a bit of juggling around for sure. I have sort of played with when is the best time to be minimally disruptive, morning and evening. So I started off doing 7 and then thought, weekends are a bit rubbish if you've got to get up at 7 o'clock to do your drops. So now I'm on 8, which I am, you know, still grudgingly okay with. Because then if I do 9, I'm into my work day, and then I've got to interrupt calls, and then 9 o'clock in the evening, I might be doing something, you know, sociable. I mean, even if I go out in the evening, I try, and so far I have not forgotten to take my drops with me. And if I need to, you know, get up from a dinner table to go and do it, then I do. And I actually explain to people why. Sorry, I've got to go and do my medication. You know, I've had some very odd looks, you know, standing in toilets in restaurants, and people go, are you okay? Are you crying? Like, no, just putting medication in my eyes.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Kate. But Rosanna, you popped on my screen, so I'll ask you the same question. Any help and advice you can give to help in making the eye drops work with your life? So whether it's your job, your socializing, your holidays, any guidance?
I can't think of anything else in addition to what I've said, actually. I think I was a bit precious about eye drops and felt they had to be sort of kept safely somewhere, but actually it's best just to carry them around with you and have them to hand so that when it gets to the time they're there. I often don't take them with me and then go to theatre and realise I've missed my time. So perhaps just being more kind of, just more prepared to carry them around with you.
Just before we move on to Karen, when you're bringing them with you, you know, you have an option to read the leaflet that comes with prescription. It'll tell you what temperature is best served or not served used at. But also you can actually buy cool bags to keep them at a certain temperature. And if you're going somewhere on holiday, so that will maintain the temperature for, I think it's 40 hours or 45 hours. So yeah. So again, on to you, Karen. Any help, advice you can give to help in making the eye drops work with your life, your job, your socializing, holidays, whatever?
Again, the same that everyone's saying, have an alarm, carry a spare. I carry a couple of spare ones in my handbag. I'm very lucky because my eye drops come in individual sachets, so I just have a couple of spare ones in there. Holiday for me was particularly difficult because I went to Costa Rica, so that's a big time zone difference, and The time I was supposed to take them would have been in the middle of the day where I was out in the middle of a jungle, which would have been ideal. So I had to end up taking them a couple of hours later than I would have done, but I kept that every single day. So doing the
Brilliant.
best of effort to be as regular as possible.
Mhm.
But it is difficult if you're on holiday. I think that's one of the hardest things.
Thank you, Karen. The next one then, so we're getting near the end, a couple more to go. How did you find adjusting to using different drops? You know, sometimes they try one drop, it's not right, and moving on. So I'll stick with Karen. Did you have to change your drops, or you
I haven't done yet, no.
were lucky? Okay.
Other than going on to Glaucoma when there was no monocross available, but that was fine. I was a bit worried about it because I have such bad dry eyes, but no, it was okay.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Certainly better than having no drops at all. Anyway, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And Kate, yourself, so did you in your whole story, did you have to adjust to changing to different drops over your time?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the side effects are, I found, much more significant with this set of drops. I mean, you know, I was told this is kind of the nuclear option as far as the medication is concerned. So I was kind of prepared, specifically with Simbrenzone. And again, if you read the list of side effects, and one of the things that it says is do not drink alcohol. I think it's always worth just checking with your, because when I spoke to him, I said, is this really what my life is going to be for the next however long? And he said, no, what it is that drug companies will cover themselves. Basically what it means is that it amplifies the effects of alcohol. So if you have one glass of wine, it might feel like you've had two. And definitely when I first started taking it, it makes you very drowsy in any case. If you have a drink, even half a glass of wine, I would fall asleep on the sofa. But I've obviously become a bit more habituated to it now. So I've been on it for over a year, and I don't have that, and you know, that experience anymore. But yeah, I mean, I fell asleep in like restaurants before now, which is also a bit disconcerting.
Thank you, Kate. And then Rosanna, have you had to adjust to taking different drops in your time?
I mean, very similar to Kate, I've had, you know, I've been through the whole range and got to the nuclear option. And I had a feeling that the ones that were had beta blockers in them were having a bit of an effect on me, but I was still adjusting to the idea of taking them at all. So I was never quite sure whether that had been the case. I haven't had any particular problems going from one to the other. It's just sort of dealing with having them.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Rosanna. So one bit of advice I'm going to ask you, Rosanna, one bit of advice on using eye drops would you give to someone who has a new diagnosis of glaucoma?
I'd say do use them. I've been not very good at doing that, and I think I'm possibly paying the price for that now. It's your best chance for saving your sight. And I, again, like Kate, they are starting to talk about surgery, and I'm not keen on the idea. So anything you can do to make them work, make sure you use them. They're there to help you. Brilliant.
And back to Karen then. So again, what bit of advice on using eye drops would you give to someone who has a new diagnosis of glaucoma?
I think exactly the same as Rosanna said. I have my father is basically blind now. My grandmother went blind. Putting a few drops in your eyes, once I know sometimes it can be a bit inconvenient and so on, but it's damn sight better than going blind. So I think just do it.
Yeah, thank
Put
you,
your
Karen.
drop in. Yeah.
And Kate, lastly, same question then. One bit of advice on using eye drops would you give to someone who has a new diagnosis of glaucoma?
Yeah, I completely agree with what Karen and Rosanna have said. I mean, you just have to suck it up. It's as simple as that. I mean, the alternative for me, it doesn't bear thinking about. I mean, I'm going to have to think about it because it might still happen. But, you know, if it's remotely within my power to mitigate it, then, as I said a few, whatever it was, a few minutes ago, I'd be foolish not to do it. I mean, it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Thank you. The second last question then, and I know Kate talked about this already, so Kate, I'll stay on you. Have you ever forgotten to take your drops? What do you do if you forget a dose? And that you talked about this already, so you just kind of took it then as soon as possible?
Well, I think the first thing to say is, don't beat yourself up. I mean, we're human and this is a regime and it takes some sticking to. But I did feel awful and I instantly thought, oh my God, I'm going to go blind now and it's my own fault because I didn't do this one thing. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think just try to minimize the number of times that you do forget, if you do. And there are lots of techniques, and then we've talked about many of them tonight, that you can use to minimize the chances of forgetting. But, as I say, if you do forget, just take it as soon as you remember. Definitely don't skip till the next one, unless it's already the next dose. If you're doing them a day apart. Yeah, just try to minimize the number of times that happens.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. Karen, same question then. So have you ever forgotten to take your drops, and what do you do if you forget a dose?
I have been woken up on more than one occasion by my alarm going off because I dozed off on the sofa. So get up, do it, and that's quite, but yeah, just take it as soon as you can afterwards if you do forget. Same advice.
Yeah, and Rosanna?
The same, yes, I'm afraid I have forgotten them and I just take them as soon as I remember. I have to do brinzolamide morning and night and then travoprost at night as well. So I try to have 3 times a day that I take them. And one way I try to remember, to help me remember if I have taken them, because sometimes I can't remember if I have taken it or not, is to put them in a different place. So I have, like, if I keep them in the fridge, means morning drops and the shelf below means evening drops. So if it's on the shelf below, I know I've done the morning drops because one day blurs into another, and so it's helpful reminder that you have done them.
Good idea.
That's a brilliant technique to think about, yes, Rosanna, in that way. Before we do the last question, can I remind the public, please post your questions, because now it's going to be your chance to ask questions when we do this last one. So the last question then is, why is it important to take your dry drops? An obvious question, but why? Sorry, I'm going to go to Rosanna. Sorry, you were all going.
Why is it important to take them? Did you say?
Why? So why is it important that you take your eye drops? Use your eye drops, yeah.
Yeah, well, we basically said that already, that it's kind of your best chance to save your sight. I think it's particularly hard if you've got normal pressure, because every time I go to clinic, they go, oh, great, your pressure's normal, it's 14. I'm going, no, that's not great. It's always 14. That's not necessarily a good or bad thing. And now that they're wondering whether they might need to do surgery, they're saying we want to get it down to 7 to 9. Now, I mean, I don't want to start discussing diagnoses. That's not necessarily true of everybody with normal pressure. But it's just, yeah, you might get no feedback at all, including not even reducing your pressure, but it is the best thing you can do for your eyesight.
Yeah, thank you, Rosanna. And Karen, yourself then, why is it important to take your eye drops?
So that I don't go blind, basically. It's that simple. I mean, as you said, it's inconvenient, but it's a lot less inconvenient than not being able to see. And that's it.
Thank you, Karen. And lastly then, Kate, why is it important to take your eye drops?
Nothing to add.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing to add.
Everything's been
We've said it all.
Yeah. So now we're going to open the floor to the public. So let's see what questions we have. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to read them. So I think Kate has, or Karen has experienced this. The question here is asking, do you have any experience of drops with preservatives?
Yes, I did have some with preservatives when my normal one ran out. I actually found that it was okay. I only took them for about a month or so before the ones I needed came back. But I was okay with them. I was a bit anxious. I thought I'd have really itchy eyes, but I was okay.
Okay. Anybody else want to answer that? Any experience of drops with preservatives?
So as I understand it, Ganfor is preservative free, but Simbrinza is not. And there's a reason for that. And I can't remember what it is. Again, given my particular variety of glaucoma, it's that or nothing at this point, because nothing else has worked to the same degree. And a bit like Rosanna, I mean, mine My pressures are still quite variable. The goal is to get to 10. I don't think I've ever been 10 yet. But it's definitely lower than it was. So, you know, small mercy to be thankful for.
Again, any of these questions, before we're not answering them, please contact our helpline and they can go into a lot more detail for you. Okay. There's one here also while we're talking about dry eyes. This person uses cysteine lubricating eye drops, but I've wondered about changing. Does anyone have any recommendations about drops for dry eyes? Anybody? So Rosanna, Karen or Kate?
Well, I was just given, I mean, the last time I was at the hospital, I was just given some, and the consultant had previously given me some. I mean, I think so long as they're, you know, just standard off the shelf dry eye drops, they'll do. And obviously, if you can get your doctor to prescribe them and you don't have to pay extra money for them, then so much the better. But I think it's more that just the, you know, the symptom relief than any particular brand.
Again, contact our helpline. Again, they may be able to advise you. Anybody else want to share any experience of using dry eye drops? No?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So again, contact the helpline and they'll be able to advise in that case. Okay. I'm not too sure whether anybody has experience of using dorzolamide or timolol in a single drop format.
I think I did.
Okay,
I haven't, but mine's the Simbrinza stings.
Yeah. So they're saying anyone else using this medication, so you've used it in the past. So this person is registered visually impaired and have new drops, and they're the new drops. So dorzolamide, timolol in single drop format. This thing so much, let alone the taste 20 minutes later. So that was probably the issue, Kate, that you were talking about earlier on. The taste won't shift.
It's, I think you get the sort of metallic-y taste, particularly if it's gone down your nose. So, you know, as Karen was saying, if you do I think it's called punctual occlusion, where you put your fingers in the corner of your eyes, that minimizes how much goes down your throat, because that's what you then end up being able to taste.
Brilliant.
I mean, if the drops are absolutely intolerable, it is worth going back to your consultant and saying so and asking for an alternative. I mean, they might say there is no alternative for your particular kind of glaucoma, but they may, you know, on the other hand, say, let's try you with something else.
Okay, somebody has just remarked, I keep mine in the bathroom and do 2 in the morning before and after shower, 3rd in the evening when cleaning teeth. Now thinking I should bring that one forward to 12 hours. Again, we can't answer that question. It's important you speak to your consultant and they will advise what's the best course of action for you. Okay, we have another one. So this is kind of about getting supply of drops. My doctor will only give me 2 months and I find this so frustrating and I wish they could give me more. I heard one of the speakers say they got 3 months. Am I entitled to get 3 months at a time? What are others' experience, please? So I think, was that Kate you talked about? No, that was Rosanna. I think you talked about 3 months supply, was it?
Yeah,
No, in fact, I only get 1 month, and
You get one.
it's exactly the same frustration that I get 2 months of the one I only take once a day, so they last forever, and 1 month of the one that I take twice a day, and I can't seem to get that change. So I just basically order the next month as soon as I've got a month's supply. As soon as I have 1 bottle, I order the next month. I don't know.
I'm the same. Sometimes you think that people can't do basic mathematics. So I've got 1 drop that I take twice and 1 drop that I take once, and I've got more of the one that I take once than I do the one that I take. And if you don't speak to a human anymore, so you have to request it all electronically. And I have said many times, you are giving me 3 times as much of this than I need. And so now I have to be explicit. I need and I need and so far, maybe just to make me shut up and go away, I'm getting 3 months of what I need when I ask for it. And it might just be worth going and sticking your foot down, like Karen said, going into the surgery and just saying, this is unacceptable, you need to fix it.
Yeah. I mean, when I went in, I was actually at the beginning, I think they were giving me 2 months at a time. And then after I'd gone in and sort of said, got nothing left, and you won't change my prescription, so I can have the one that has got preservative in. Suddenly I now get 3 months at a time. So I think it may be just about being vocal about it.
Yeah. Speaking of,
and sometimes it's the cost as well.
Yeah.
There's certain of the drops, is it? Oh, I can't remember one of them. There's one that's super, super expensive.
Okay, that's good to know.
I can't remember the name of it, which is really unhelpful. It's another one of those individual sachet ones. It tends to be the preservative-free one, of course, predictably, I think, that are more expensive. And I think sometimes surgeries are a bit, you know, they're managing their budgets. But at the end of the day, it's your site that you're kind of, or they are gambling with, and it's not them. You've got every right to ask for what you need.
So as Kate and the other two presenters have said, speak up. I think that's kind of, you speak up and air your frustrations. Hopefully that should get the point across. Yeah. We have one more question. And this person is talking about how they remember to actually take their drops. And I know from Kate talking about that app, and that app might be useful. So this person was using the traditional method of a chart and a little card and a pencil to take the drops 3 times daily they were taking them. But potentially if you're using technology, it would kind of take that pressure off you. So, and I know, Kate, you talked about the My Therapy. Is it very easy to use, just to kind of
super easy? I don't know if I might not be able to show you. You probably can't see, but there's my next dose of, no, it's not showing up. That's my next dose of Simbrinza at 8 o'clock. You can actually scan with some drugs. For some reason, Simbrinza is not in there, but for someone, you can actually scan the barcode on the bottle and it will pull in the data. So it knows what it is that you're taking. And, you know, then you can set the alarm. So it is effectively overrides any phone on silent. It will go off no matter what. So you've got very little chance of forgetting.
Yeah. So yeah, there's different things. They have Alexa. There's loads of different things you could use. Set an alarm on your phone. So there's loads of different things to consider in relation to remembering in that way. This is back to what Kate was talking about. So the punctal occlusion, which is the pressing of the inner eye. This person's talked about, I put the drops in, but when I lay down, they run down my cheeks. So should I stay upright? Oh, but I was told to take them last thing because blinking would blink them out. So using that method of administering the drops and putting your finger into the corner of your eye, holding it for 2 minutes, then that would allow then the drop to go where it's supposed to go and not to kind of roll down your cheek and not go down the back of your throat to make you feel sick. Okay.
And definitely close your eyes. I mean, I think trying to put them in and keep your eyes open, your eyes will be streaming and most of it will end up on your face. But if you put them in, close your eyes for 2 minutes with your fingers in the corners of your eyes, or even just put your head a little bit back, it will not, because I've tried when I've been, you know, not wanting to get up at the weekend, I've tried doing it in bed. It doesn't work for me because then it mostly does end up out of my eye. I'm better upright and just doing it like this with the bottle.
As you say, you'll find a technique that works for you, but your advice then, Kate, you know, close your eyes. Some people lie down, just find a comfortable position. I suppose if you're out and about, it's easier said than done when you're trying to manage them. Somebody has put on a comment. I believe that Simbrinza is one of the few eye drops that are still not preservative free, but it's possible to have the 2 individual brinzolamide and brin. Sorry,
brin. Yes, brimonidine and brinzolamide. The only reason that I'm on Simbrinza is frankly just the convenience, because otherwise then I'd have 3 drops to take, and you know, it's enough of an inconvenience with 2. So it may be that I end up going down that road. I mean, if the dry eye gets worse, then so far, and I'm touching wood, so far it's tolerable. But yeah, that might be the road that I end up having to go down, or surgery, who knows.
Okay, that's all our questions answered. Before we're going to finish up now. We'll finish up a bit early because we have no more questions. Sorry,
it's Robin. I've just in the chat, there were a couple of questions from Facebook. I don't know if you can see them in the chat, or otherwise I can read them out. I
can only see one. There's one just came in there.
Okay, there were 2 from Facebook. Do you want me to read them to the panel?
Please,
yeah. So somebody has asked, has anybody been diagnosed without having high eye pressure? So I assume I'm going to be looking at our panelists here with normal tension glaucoma. I don't know if you want to kind of say a few words about that.
Well, I was diagnosed at a routine eye test. I mean, I got to, I don't know, whatever age it was, late 30s, and just thought, oh, I probably need glasses at this point. And I went to an optician who said, did you know you have glaucoma? And I said, what's that? had absolutely no idea. And at that point, I already had quite significant damage in my left eye, and I had no idea that it was related to eye pressure. Interestingly, though, and Rosanna, I don't know if this applies to you, I've had migraines all my life, and I also have Raynaud's, so my hands and my feet are always freezing. And what I've found recently, having only got this normal tension diagnosis from the private consultant, is that there's I don't know if it's proven, and I don't know if it's causation, but certainly there are connections between people with migraine who also have Raynaud's who tend to have normal tension glaucoma.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same. I didn't have high pressure, so I was regularly going to the optician, and he was doing pressure tests. And then he did a visual fields test and said, oh, you seem to be missing quite a lot. I'm not too happy about that, and made a referral for me. So I don't know how long it had been there before he found it. And I'm forever grateful to him for spotting it, because it could have just gone on forever. And similarly, I've got a lot of loss in my left eye. And I did used to have migraines, not terribly, but I did get quite a lot of migraines, although not Raynaud's. And I've seen that thing about migraine, the link to migraine.
Thank you. Karen, do you want to say something before I read this last question from Facebook?
Yeah, I actually was, they didn't actually find there's any issue with my pressure. It was my optician spotted something and sent me, and I was actually a suspect glaucoma patient for about 18 months, about 2 years, and they were just about to say you haven't got it when they recognised that I had got it. So I was just really grateful that I'd gone to an optician that had spotted it before.
Perseverance. Yeah. This quick question, because I know we need to wind up here. Have you found it's best to lie down or stand in to put in drops? And again, that was answered. So you all have different techniques. What's your own preference, everybody?
Standing up.
Yeah, I'm well, lying down actually. Yeah, sort of propped up on a pillow or an arm of a sofa.
Yeah. So I suppose it's trial and error, just trying things out, what kind of is comfortable. So it's about supporting your head, really, in some way.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely don't want to put your head too far back. That's really uncomfortable. So like Rosanna said, if you're sitting down, prop yourself up. But sometimes you won't be able to do your preferred way of putting your drops in. If you have got to do 2 a day and you're out somewhere, chances are you'll be in a bathroom and you'll have to do it standing up. So it's worth practicing both ways, just in case you need to.
I definitely think standing up with my head just up a little bit used to work best for me.
Because depending on how stable you are, because you don't want to stand up and then fall over. So it's getting it right, because as you know, glaucoma affects all ages. So we need to be mindful.
I'm in the older category slightly, so my balance is not so great.
So we're just going to finish up now. I'm just going to share the presentation again. We're coming near the end. Ladies, thank you very much for that very open conversation about your using eye drops. I have learned so much again myself from it. So just let me through this last slide. Again, thank you to the audience, the public, for sharing their questions. I'm just going to launch your second poll. Hopefully from the very open conversations we've had tonight, you've learned something. So just let me launch that poll. And please, if you could respond, that'll be brilliant. I'll keep it open for a few minutes. And again, if we haven't answered everything tonight, again, the helpline's always there, so please contact them. Okay, I'm just seeing our numbers. A few more to go, and then we'll just finish up. Okay, going to finish there. So I'm just going to sorry. I want to make sure I get my results, because I don't want to lose my results that I have there. So lastly then, so this on the screen here, we have the contact details for the helpline. So please feel free to contact and ring them or email for any questions that you might have. The next digital glaucoma support group is in November. It's on 15th of November, and it's on vitamin B. So research around vitamin B. you're welcome to join. Again, you know the obvious ways. You can register in advance or you can join via Facebook. And we will be sending out a survey to get some feedback from yourself. So please take your time, if you have the time, to give us back your comments. And I'd like to thank everybody and wish them all a nice evening, and thank the panelists for as their very kind of in-depth answers to the questions that were posed
Pleasure.
today.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you, and enjoy your holiday.
Thank
Kate,
you very much.
I'll speak to you soon, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.